For anyone that's been growing up playing some arcade games from like the 80s and 90s, like the Turtles in Time and whatever else you may think of, or maybe the Simpsons games and whatever, this is going to be like a perfect game for you guys to go back and maybe play with some other people in terms of replay value. And I'll explain that soon enough. Shredder's Revenge was released on Windows, Linux, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, and also on the PS5 and the Xbox Series. But let me just tell you guys right now, the game itself happens to be just like that, the Arcady games, developed by Tribute Games. It was released, and it was pretty much a commercial success, and one of their first DLC content got in a physical release with the original game itself, which, funny enough, the physical copy of the game, of the DLC pack with the main game, also, believe it or not, comes with a Pizza Hut coupon for anyone that wanted to get it when it was first coming out. But as of late, there was a new character expansion pack that actually came out, so it makes more replay value just have its own purpose. So when you start up the game, there's actually a tutorial on how you play the game, up to like 40 different snippets of how you play the game. And just to be fair, you guys can play this game locally up to 6 players. As a fun fact too, some of the character palettes also has the Game Boy original handheld skin in the game as well. So if you ever think about playing the Game Boy like characters, then you can do that. But you also have the characters with either pupils or not on their eyes. So the choice is up to you or whatever. There's like a few different costumes, but it was pretty cool how they also include the Game Boy Colors palettes, the green and black one. But you get what I mean. So it was said that Nickelodeon actually approached Dotemu following the release of Wonder Boy: The Dungeon's Trap and its possibility on releasing this game. Even though the game is short, and it has this short story or whatever, it pretty much became a commercial success. And that's exactly what it is. It's an arcade game. Now, speaking of which, there's a story mode, arcade mode, and part of the DLC also included a new survival mode as well. But like I said, you can play the game up to 6 players, and it's a beat 'em up game. You can use pizzas to refill your health, and there's other gadgets you can do. Doesn't matter what character you're playing as long as you're having fun, then you have some sort of home to it. You can play the game in modern music, or perhaps chiptune music if you guys really want to get into more of a retro vibe, by going to the main menu, and there's actually an option on the music that you guys can actually choose. Now, I knew that the game was pretty much an arcade game. I did not expect it to be like long. I think there was at least like 15 levels that the game had, like maybe 15 or 16 of them. But look, for anyone that's got the Game Pass Core on our Xbox consoles, you can also play the game on there too at the time of this recording. So for anyone that's thinking about getting the Xbox Game Pass Core and want to give this game a try, you can go right on ahead and do it. But anyways, there's plenty of levels for you guys to play, hidden objects for you guys to find. There's special attacks for these characters. And let's just say the game is pretty fun. There's also going to be times where you're going to be flying and hitting enemies and whatever. But yeah, if you read the tutorial carefully, you'll get the hang of what you're going to be getting into when it comes to playing the game. There's also cutscenes just like any other arcade game, but they're pretty much takes a couple of seconds, and that's pretty much about it. I wouldn't say the cutscenes are crazy, but it does have the retro arcade vibes. It's much like the Simpsons game that I pretty much played in the arcade cabinet thanks to the arcade 1-up machine, which I wish I could just talk about that game, because that was on consoles at one point, well, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 at one point before being delisted. But maybe that's another video for another time, but I thought I'd make a comparison for the cutscenes, since this is supposed to be a retro-like arcade type game, and it plays exactly just like that. Lots of enemy varieties for you guys to fight. Sometimes there's hidden items like I mentioned before. And there's also some tough enemies, and there's also going to be some where you have no clue how you're going to take them out. Now, arcade mode is more harder than the story mode because you have limited lives. But if you manage to score up a certain amount of points, you'll be able to get some more 1-ups and whatever too. But holy cow, I'm just saying this right now, this is a hard game. Especially in the later parts of the game. It's not really too hard at the beginning of the game, but the later levels are a huge drag. Not to say that it's bad, but it's hard in terms of difficulty. And the reason I say this is because there are some could be obstacles for you guys to come across, and that makes the game even more challenging than how it originally would be. And sometimes there's just enemies that'll just spam attack you and just do some unfair nonsense. But there are some game achievements that you guys may want to check out if you guys are one of those achievement hunters that are out there on the internet. And I know this because a lot of people love bragging about it. No pun intended. But you get the idea. If you guys are thinking about playing this game with your whole family or anything else like that, you should definitely give this game a try. I think this will bring out, for anyone that grew up playing retro arcade games back in the years before, well, especially me. Not that say that I played the 90s retro games, but I have played arcade games to pretty much know what I'm talking about here. But I will say, despite it being short, which, let's be honest, all arcade games are usually short and they're not really story driven or anything, you have to make sure you stop Shredder from, you know, trying to take over the world and whatever. Of course it's Shredder, you gotta fight him anyways. But yeah, there's several characters you guys can play, including the DLC characters, and I'm actually quite surprised they're still adding content to this game to this very day. And I know I talked about Double Dragon at one point, which sometime after I made that video, they added in a free expansion containing some new stuff. And I think this game also is trying to do the same thing, except it's not free, but you get the point. There's a lot of replay value for each different character you want to play as. And for anyone that wants to take up the challenge and see what these other characters can do, including the paid ones, by all means, give this game a chance. If you guys are wanting to play something a little differently, or maybe you want to relive the past that made games great. And this is actually one of them. And I think Tribute Games lived up to the name by paying the tribute in terms of playing these arcade-like games. So, let me know if you guys grew up playing some Turtle games like I did. I pretty much played one of the games on the GameCube back then. But I haven't really played much of Teenage Mutant Turtle games until the collection of it came out that also included the arcade games and the handhelds, and you get it. But if you guys are into playing stuff like this, give it a chance and maybe you'll be satisfied on what you'll actually be playing.